this is Solid Shepard bringing you another video. And today, we're gonna it's kind of a topic video. We're gonna discuss Nintendo Switch, and to be more particular, we're gonna sit here and talk about whether I think, and at the end of the video, I want you guys in the comment section below to voice your opinions on this so we can talk about it. But whether Nintendo or Switch will be successful. And the reason why I say that is, at first I don't know, it's gimmicky again. Like, Nintendo did another gimmicky console, and I have a few reasons why I'm not really liking it. Okay, so first of all, I'm just not really, I don't think it's gonna succeed. I want it to succeed. I'm just a disclaimer at the beginning of this video. I want the Nintendo Switch to succeed because a successful Nintendo is only good for video games as a whole. And I want Xbox to succeed and I want PlayStation to succeed. When businesses are successful and then they have to actually compete with one another, and there's more people in that sphere, more companies in that sphere competing for our money, we win. The consumer wins, the gamers win. They have to make better games, they have to make more competitive pricing. But unfortunately, Nintendo has kind of been falling off as of late. And I feel like they're falling in a lot of the same pitfalls, and some new pitfalls that they have in the past. And I'm going to kind of go over that in this video. Number one is the release lineup. It's not really that good. There's not really any games that most people are really going to care about. And even, following the rest of the month, there's not really much, and you're not really going to have the new Mario game, which will probably really only be the second game anyone's really going to care about on this system. That's not coming out until the end of the year, around the holiday time. I mean, yes, you have Zelda, but Zelda in itself, they kind of backed themselves into a corner in that game as well. This will probably be a different video that I will end up doing, talking about my thoughts on what they've done with Breath of the Wild from a marketing standpoint and a company standpoint. But pretty much, just to skim over it, you can get The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, and it's only going to be like 1080p as far as resolution, less than the Nintendo Switch variety, and they've already pretty much said that it's going to have the same resolution whenever you're on the go, which is kind of the whole point of the console to begin with. So they kind of put themselves into a corner there, where it's not going to be something that will necessarily, no matter how good it is, it's not going to be something that will necessarily sell the console. So you really won't have a major console seller until the holidays, when the Mario Odyssey comes out. Which is very dangerous, which is what happened on the Wii U, because the Wii U was interesting, but they didn't have software for the console. Even now, they don't really have much. They have a few games, and that's about it. And let's be honest, that's the most important thing that matters. Even Nintendo has said that that's the most important thing that matters when they argue that they don't need to be as graphically good as Sony and Microsoft. Which brings us, a nice little segue, to the next point of why I'm not liking it, is the power. So yeah, Nintendo fanboys, they're gonna buy Nintendo regardless of what happens. But in order for it to succeed, they need a bigger audience than just that group. And especially because that group's getting smaller and smaller, it seems, every year. People eventually get tired of their crap and they leave. They get tired of Nintendo shit and they leave. So whenever we're talking about this next subject, it's the power of the console. And here's the problem, is they already kind of released the specs, and it's almost as good, but still a little weaker than the base Xbox One, PlayStation 4. Now when I say base, what I mean by that is that Xbox One is releasing the Project Scorpio toward the end of the year this year, same year the Switch is releasing, and the PlayStation 4 Pro is already out. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the systems that are out right now. The base Xbox One and the base PlayStation 4. And the Wii U, or not the Wii U, my bad. The Nintendo Switch isn't even on par of where they're at. Now, you factor in the Scorpio and the Pro, and where is Nintendo sitting at? They are sitting at a vastly underpowered system. And on top of that, the architecture of the way the system works, they are going back to cartridges, small little cartridges. So at face value, that looks like a good idea because cartridge technology has actually come a long way, and you can actually fit a lot more in a cartridge than on discs now. But the downside of that is, I mean, developers aren't going to want to develop for Nintendo, third party. People who are making games for Xbox and PlayStation are not going to want to come over to the Switch because that's a lot of work trying to convert it. This is the problem that the N64 had. Little known fact, for a lot of people, the Nintendo 64 was actually a lot stronger than the PlayStation 1. But, you know, for different reasons, obviously, they didn't want to develop for the cartridges, so that's why they stuck with PlayStation. It was a different reason because I will admit, I will say it right now, that it was because the discs could hold more space. And it was easier to switch between discs. So bigger games like your Final Fantasy 7s and 8s and games like that, like they could make the games as big as they wanted, whereas on the N64 they couldn't. And that's why Final Fantasy jumped ship. It used to be a Nintendo franchise. It jumped ship to Sony, and now they're making games for Xbox with Final Fantasy 15. And Final Fantasy, that was my TV. Something just looks like something just updated. I don't know if you guys could hear that or not. But yeah, that's why they jumped ship. And I think it's Final Fantasy 14, like the Lightning game. That's whenever they started doing Xbox as well. And yeah, so Nintendo seems to be doing this again, and the reason why they're going to run into an issue this time, like I said, is because it's not as simple to convert games that use discs to another one that uses discs, as opposed to a completely different format. So that, I mean, it's not impossible. Some developers might, if the Switch sells well enough, some developers might think, okay, it's worth it. It's worth the cost to send it over and convert it on for a cartridge, so they might do it. But here comes another problem: is there's nothing to do with the cartridges, and that is that it is way more underpowered. It's going to be way more underpowered than the Pro and the Scorpio, and it's still underpowered on the base consoles, as I already said. But according to Sony, the new console generation, like the Pro, is only a holdover for their next generation, and they assume that it's going to be the same for Xbox, so Xbox will probably do it too. Maybe not, because there was that rumble that Xbox saying this was going to be the last console generation, and they're just going to like upgrade. But even those upgrades, if that's the route Microsoft decides to go, theirs are going to be coming out in a few years, and the next PlayStation, the PlayStation 5, will be coming out supposedly in a few years, in 2 or 3 years from now. Now, the timing of Nintendo releasing this system, one of two things is going to happen. Either they're going to have to do what Sega did right before Sega sailed and go ahead and release another console in just a couple years, which is not going to be a good idea, or they're just going to be stuck, which is also not a good thing with their current system, because they're already underpowered from this generation's consoles with the Switch. And so, if Nintendo and Microsoft go to the next generation just in a couple of years, they're going to be stuck with that. So, already with this console generation, developers like games like Mass Effect Andromeda that are coming out, games like one I'm really looking forward to. I just did my last topic/discussion video on Horizon Zero Dawn. How are those games going to run? Like, you already would have to downscale those significantly to run on the Switch, and God knows how much battery it would take for the portable version, which I'll get to in a minute, talking about the portable side, because some of you might be arguing the portable side I'm going to get to that in a minute. But those are already a stretch to come over to the Switch. Now imagine those kind of games that are not console exclusive, but were made for the new Xbox and the new PlayStation that will eventually come out for the next generation. Imagine it's going to be impossible. You can't put those games on the Switch. It won't be possible. There's no amount of downscaling. And if you did downscale it enough, the game would probably end up looking like crap, because you would have to take a game that's made for the next generation that's not even really being talked about so much yet, other than Sony kind of just dropping little hints here and there saying, this is just a holdover console, we expect a new generation, in a few years. Outside of that, there's been no talk. So these things are going to be way more powerful than the Switch. How are they going to make those games for that console, for those consoles, available on the Switch? Like, you can't do it. And if you try to do it, the game's going to end up looking like crap, because you're taking a game that's made for those systems and downscaling it so much to where it'll just run on the Switch. And like I said, the battery power consumption would probably be insane. Which takes us to the battery, the portability. So Nintendo came out in their recent conference and pretty much said that the battery life is expected with the games that they, like Breath of the Wild and stuff, to run between, depending on the game, between 2.5 to 6 hours. Now that 2.5 hours, like, let's think about it this way. Imagine your cell phone only lasting for 2.5 hours. Imagine that. Not only that, but people claim, oh, well, you can charge it when you're in the car or something. Well, what if you're on a trip? You're on an airplane. You don't really have access like that to just charge stuff. At least not the planes I've been on. Maybe if you get like really high class seats or airline I haven't ever used before, maybe you can do it. But I really don't see that happening. And just like that, the original release commercial. What if you're with your bros at the park playing basketball or something? There's no outlets there, And one has to assume that the 2.5 hours, or not the 2.5 hours, the 6 hour spectrum means it's games that they have made, that Nintendo has made. So they can actually implement, okay, let's make this as significant as possible. Not as significant, as efficient. That's the word I was looking for. I don't know why I said significant. Let's make it as efficient as possible to run on this console. And another game just updated. Let's make it as efficient as possible to run on this console. And you also gotta assume that it is with the brightness turned all the way down, because anyone who knows anything about mobile devices, the brightness, how high it is or how low it is, has a big impact on the battery life of your device. So with brightness up, it only lasts a couple hours. And that's assuming you're playing a game that's made for it. Now what if it's a port, which we were just talking about earlier? I'm not sure how long a lot of these games would be able to last, even with the brightness down. Probably like 1 or 2 hours. So how portable is it really? And you can argue, well, you can plug it in. Well, I mean, really, if you have to have it plugged in, what's the point? How it kind of defeats the point, doesn't it? If you have to keep it plugged in perpetually, like all the time, to keep the battery, it kind of defeats the point. And also, when you're on the go, your cell phone is going to be a little bit more important than your Switch, right? So, like, I know every time I get in the car, I plug in my cell phone. And assuming you're with friends, one of them might be using the other outlet, the little cigarette outlet car charger thing. So most people aren't going to be able to charge it, and or other devices are going to take precedence over charging it. So, I mean, it might work out better, but there's a real good chance that this whole idea could kind of backfire. And, I mean, why don't you just play games on your cell phone at that point? I mean, you're probably not going to be out, you're probably not going to be trying to get immersed in a deep Skyrim session when you're, out doing something. So really, what's the point? All you really need when you're out doing stuff is just some simple little cell phone games. And that's going to bring us to the next point, which is the price. So it's a little gimmick, as I just said. Like, do you really need a full-blown system to carry with you when you could just have a 3DS, or which has better battery life, or just play some cell phone games? Do you really need that? I mean, sure, it'd be cool to have, but are you really gonna pay the price of another $300? Like, for me, I own a PS4. I don't own an Xbox. I own a PS4 and a Wii U. And so if I'm looking at a new console, am I gonna buy the severely underpowered Nintendo console that does have mobile capability, but for all intents and purposes looks like it's gonna be a crappy battery life and has really no real game library? Because even the good games that are coming out later this year, other than Zelda and Mario, are like Skyrim and stuff, and like games like stuff that you can get on the PlayStation 4 or Xbox. So as a gamer, why would I buy the Nintendo when for the same price I could get the Xbox One, and I'd be able to play Xbox One exclusive that I haven't been able to play up to this point? Especially when the main system seller, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I can just get on my Wii U. And if I don't have a Wii U, Wii U's are already cheap. You can just buy one pretty easily for that game. Especially when the Switch does release, it's going to become a lot cheaper. The Wii U will become a lot cheaper. Very easy to get your hands on one. And then you can just buy that Breath of the Wild, and boom, there you go. You're good to go for that game. Why are you going to buy us? Like, why? Outside of being a loyal Nintendo fanboy, there's nothing wrong with that. If you like Nintendo, all power to you, but you're one small group. So if you're not a part of that group, why are you going to buy the Nintendo Switch? Give me a real reason. Don't say because of the portability, because I've already talked about that. And who really cares about the HD rumble, you know? Like, who cares about that? Who really cares? The motion controls. Those are on both consoles. PlayStation is getting VR. Or has VR. Why are you getting the Switch? Don't tell me mobile gaming, because there's better options. Honestly, there's better options, and you don't need AAA games when you're out doing something. If you want to say, like, oh, you're going to be on a plane or something, well, guess what? There's a little table that folds out on those planes that are perfect for a laptop. You could play some Skyrim, if that's what you're after. You can play Skyrim on a laptop. Like, if you have one. And if not, just take a nap like everyone else does. Are you really going to pay $300 for that? When you could get the other actually good, powerful console with an actual library? And this is why, and the library thing is really what I think is really going to kill the Switch. The library is going to kill the Switch because that's what killed the Wii U. It's a cool idea, but I don't think it's being implemented the way it should be if that's what they were trying to sell it as. And the game library sucks. So outside of the Nintendo fanboys, who is really going to buy it? You know, I mean, who's going to buy it? And not only that, if the Nintendo Switch fails like I think it does, they're marketing it as a console and a handheld. The handheld market is what's been keeping them afloat with the 3DS. So if this system fails, because the price of entry and the lack of games and all that, and their handheld market, they decide to stop making games for the 3DS, so their handheld market crashes, what's going to save them this time? Like, it's a very, very dangerous move, and they've gone about it a very, very dangerous way. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it'll succeed. But right now, I'm just not seeing it. Hopefully, enough people, enough fanboys and Zelda fans that are willing to buy the console more than I am right now, because I can just get it for my Wii U, we'll buy it and it will last long enough for Mario to come out, so some Mario fans that aren't necessarily Nintendo fanboys might purchase it. And then hopefully next year, better games come out. But as far as the library goes, this is looking very, very reminiscent to the Wii U. Because if you remember when the Wii U came out, it actually had a lot of third-party support at first. But because of the bad opening lineup when the console was released, those third-party developers started shying away. And next thing you know, they've got no support, and Nintendo just basically runs the 3DS. Heck, they started porting a lot of their games to the 3DS that was on the Wii U. Like, they just completely jumped ship very early. And I don't want to see this happen again. But for the multitude of reasons of what I just brought up, some of them are now, and some of them, like I said, the console generation thing, a few years down the road, I think Nintendo made another mistake. And I don't want to see Nintendo go the way of Sega. But it really looks like this is the road we're going down. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this whole thing. If you think I'm wrong and you think the Switch is perfect, or if you think any of the points I brought up are incorrect, please don't fanboy rage at me. Let's discuss it. That's the point of this video. We'll talk about it. I like talking about this stuff. So, I'll see you in the comment section below. And if you agree with me, let me know why you agree with me. And we'll talk about it. Anyways, thank you for watching the video. If you liked the video and you're liking my content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And until next time, as always, this has been Solid Shepard, and I should go.